Hello everyone, welcome to another ODNT Spotlight. Again, I'm your host, Steve DeWinter, and I am here with the amazingly dark, but still incredibly funny author, A.M. Dunnewin, and she is here promoting Book 1 in her Bnai Did saga, The Bnai Did. So we'll definitely, I asked her earlier what that meant, and so we'll definitely get back into that, but that's a really good cover, and that's a redo. This is her third cover for it, and I'm really liking this cover. So they always say don't judge a book by its cover, but this looks like a really good read. Let's go ahead and switch on over. Hello, AM. How are you doing tonight?
Good. How are you doing?
Great. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
Of course. So let's start with the Bnai Did. What does that mean? Bnai Did.
Bnai Did basically means being barbaric, a state of unenlightenment, being very dark, which is basically the whole atmosphere of the book.
So you call yourself a dark fantasy author.
I do.
What does that mean for all of us who are reading? We read a fantasy and we think dragons and wizards and, for fantasy, but a dark fantasy is a bit different.
A little bit. It kind of goes downhill about halfway through the story. It usually becomes very dark. It starts to show the deep, really hard parts of humanity, or at least my books do. It usually touches on things that a lot of people think would be gory or not really fluffy to an extent.
It's not a feel-good story.
Not really. We try to make it feel good, but it usually doesn't turn out that way.
It gets dark real fast.
Very fast. Usually we think, halfway through, and a lot of people are like, yeah, that lasts about 10 pages.
And so what was your inspiration for wanting to do a fantasy, but want to make it get closer to the realm of horror and uber suspense?
Oh, well, it turns out the whole kind of muse for the Bnai Did was the video game Dishonored.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that game.
Well, mine came from frustration because I want to be a gamer. In fact, I built a computer so I could be a gamer, so I could go back into it, because the last game I played was Super Mario. And so
on the original Nintendo?
Exactly, when it was like 4 buttons.
The NES system.
Yes, exactly. I was like, what happened to everything? And so I was playing it, and I guess the very first level, you're in a prison, and you're supposed to not kill anybody, which I failed in about 5 minutes. I was killing everyone right and left. And I ended up killing everyone so much that I forgot how to break out. And so I ended up getting stuck, and I'm still stuck. I still haven't been able to get past that level. And so I ended up doing what all writers do. I wrote a book about a girl stuck in a prison.
Who could kill everyone and still get out.
That's pretty much what happens. It became very frustrating, so...
You're like, but I want to kill everything.
I did. I was like practicing my moves, and like I would have carcasses laying there. I'd be like, oh, this is what this button does. And then I found out the whole point of the story was you're supposed to go invisible and be like stealth. I wasn't.
You're the one that you get the brand new shiny sword and you're all... Everybody's lying on the pull the blood of your feet and go, wow, that's sharp.
I was like, wow, that was amazing. Let's do it again.
That's great. Hello. Oh, see, now you have to start that game all over again. But now it's not your speed.
No, it's not.
They don't kill anyone. What?
I was like, well, what's the point in that? Like, that's the fun part.
I mean, the name is Dishonored. That means I'm a bad dude.
Exactly. You'd think some death would be involved, but apparently they didn't think so.
You just gave a spoiler on the latest movie. That's what made you Dishonored.
Yeah, that too.
So, as much as you like to do dark fantasy and everything, I was looking through your WordPress website, which we have the website link down below. So if you're watching this video on YouTube or embedded in another website, just click the button down there that says Watch on YouTube, and I have links for all AM's books on Amazon. And to connect with AM, I have her website, her Facebook, her Twitter, her Google+, her LinkedIn, her Goodreads, her Instagram, her Stage 32. She can't hide from us.
No.
So we got everything there so that you can connect with her and all the things and check out her books for that. But I really urge you to go check out amdunnewin.wordpress.com, which is right there on the screen, but also there's a link down below. And she's a dark fantasy author and everything just goes real fast, but not on her website. She is hilarious on the website. She's a comedy writer. I wish I was this funny.
Well, thank you.
So what was your inspiration for starting your official blog?
It was really just to kind of get out there and pretty much kind of tell how it is to be an indie author. And because when you're out there, sometimes you're like, wow, am I like the only person struggling? Am I the only person having these issues when it comes to, selling my book or promoting it or marketing it or editing it? And so I thought, well, maybe if I wrote what's happening with me, people would be able to relate to it.
Then one other person would see that I'm not alone.
Exactly.
And then you can both be alone together.
Exactly, more the merrier.
And then you realize, nope, these are all the struggles that we all have.
Unfortunately, you must be doing something right.
Yeah, when you run into all these issues, well, now you're doing it right.
Yeah, it's like, oh, yeah, I'm an indie author.
And so, looking at that, one of the things that you have, as well as, because writing is a very solitary. You do it by yourself, you bang away on the keyboard, and then you go, well, now I need to realize that I'm not just by myself. Right. And I need to get out there and promote. One of the reasons you're here on the show so that we can help promote your book. Yay!
Yay!
And then you have started something to help promote your fellow indie authors. Once you realized you weren't the only one, and there were others, you started something on your blog.
I did.
What is that?
I started Author Underground, which is kind of my version of a book club for indie authors.
Excellent. So what benefit is that for the readers and for your fellow authors?
It's really to show who's out there as an indie author. I mean, there's so many of us. It kind of spotlights one a month, so that way we can kind of get to know the author. I show their Facebook page on a link. I also show where you can get their book. And it's pretty much not really just to get sales. It's actually to help get them reviews, because we're pretty much starving for reviews.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of to help promote them and help them out and kind of, acknowledge them, saying, you're doing a good job. So, here's some readers. Hopefully they'll review your book.
Yeah, indie authors are very much review zombies. We're like, reviews.
Oh, yeah.
Forget brains. I want reviews.
That's exactly it.
That's a tough thing to get. So, I have here, you just recently joined the Horror Writers Association.
I did.
And so what was, so you started out with doing dark fantasy, and then we were talking earlier before the show when I asked you, well, why did you join the Horror Writers? I didn't consider that to be like Stephen King or Dean Koontz or anything. But dark fantasy, you said, is very close to horror, but on a fantasy side.
Right. It's it actually is a lot like horror. A lot of them can get very gory, very gruesome, very dark to say the least. But at the same time, it's very fantastical. It's a whole different world. It's not just modern. It's things that they made up, and so that's kind of where the gray line's drawn.
Excellent. And so that still puts you fully into the horror side of it, because when we think of fantasy, we think of shiny unicorns and magic.
Exactly.
And maybe there's a dark guy, but he's the bad guy. We don't really focus on that, and we're going to stop him and everyone has a grand old time.
Yep, that's exactly. A lot of people say, and even I thought that until I actually wrote my book and realized that it went way south. And so when I was trying to think of, keywords, I realized that dark fantasy was becoming a very big genre. It was basically borderline horror, because it wasn't as horrific as horror is, but it was still there. It was still something that people wouldn't consider fluffy and light and fantasy. Something that you want to dream about.
Right. It's fantasy is dreams, dark fantasy is nightmares.
Pretty much. It kind of gets down to that point. And that's actually what my book has a lot of nightmares in it.
Oh, very cool. So tell us a little bit about what the story is about.
The story is basically about this Princess Royal. Her name is Skylar. She's imprisoned because her personal knight, whose name is Harlan, is framed for killing her father, who's the king of this realm, Corinth. The whole story, she's in the prison and she's actually being tortured, which the scenes kind of get a little graphic, not too detailed, but enough to where you feel like you're kind of there. And the whole story leading up to the point she's imprisoned is told through flashbacks. And so it kind of comes down to, is she going to just kind of give up like a normal person would in those situations, you know, just kind of say, okay, let me die, or is she going to basically fight to the end and take as many of them with her?
So not rise up above it, but take them all out with her when she dies.
Pretty much, kind of like me on that game.
Everyone's dead.
Oh, like everyone's gone, and then, oh, I was supposed to find a bomb to blow that wall out. Oops.
They tell your character, go to hell. It's like, you first, I'm following you.
That's exactly kind of, I think actually character says that at one point.
Nice. Sounds like my kind of story.
Oh, good.
And so you've got a strong female character in this one, it sounds like.
Very strong.
And a severe kick-ass female if she's going to go down kicking and screaming, right?
Oh, definitely. She's very much for justice and for standing up for what's right, even when she's the only one standing. But what was kind of cool is the secondary character, male character, Harlan, who's her personal knight. He's a very strong character as well, because he's considered one of the Bnai Did, which is one of the men who go to war first. So he's very calm and collective, at the same time very tactical and used to bloodshed. And he actually kind of helps her not gain her standing or her confidence, but kind of like feeds into it. Like, you have these tools, here's how you can continue on with it.
Oh, excellent. So this is called the Bnai Did Saga, and this is book 1. So that means we have more books coming from this?
At least 3 more.
Ah, very nice. And so you're well along, I think, on the second one you mentioned.
Yes, it's outlined about halfway through. I'm hoping in about a year it'll either be done or at least in the editing stage. So hopefully soon.
Excellent. So you mentioned outline. So that sounds like, you fall on the outline side of the outline versus just write it crowd?
You know what's funny is I love outlines, but Bnai Did was the exception. I ended up having like 5 sentences starting in, and then suddenly I just started writing it and just fell into place. And I thought all my other stories would do that, and they don't. And so I'm back to being the outline author.
Wow, very, very cool. So you're starting to do the outline. You also have another story that will be coming out before the second Bnai Did book. For that, when is that one coming out, and what is that one called?
That one is called Under a Melting Sun, which is a historical fiction. To be honest, it's supposed to be out a couple months ago, but it decided to take a turn for the worst, and so I'm having to clean it up and revise it, and I'm hoping by spring, if not early summer, it'll be out.
And so that one's a historical fantasy, but it doesn't go all the way back to the 1400s. I think I was looking, it's like 1937.
Right.
So it's post-World War I, pre-World War II, and what's that story about?
That story is actually about an anthropologist who is in the Amazon rainforest, and he's kind of a snarky character at this point in the very beginning, because his partner who's working with him abandons him, leaves him for unknown reasons. So he's basically stuck with this tribe, doing this research alone in the middle of this jungle where it's hot and, you know, bugs are crawling all over him, and he's just very like done with life. And then
not having fun.
Yeah, and so that was part of the reason why I had to rewrite it, is because he was getting a little too snarky. I had to kind of reel him in a little bit. And so the partner comes back and ends up, he's thinking, oh, when my friend comes back, I can go home, you know, screw this place.
I'm out
and
here.
The friend actually brings more people, so he's kind of stuck there for the remainder of the story.
Oh my goodness. So you were putting a little bit too much of yourself into his character with all that snarkiness.
Oh yeah, he was complaining a little too much. I needed people to still like him by the 3rd chapter.
He was complaining by the 3rd chapter? That's it?
Oh yeah.
I'm turning this book around.
Yeah, I pretty much did. I was like, okay, we need to like redo this, because if I'm getting tired of him, the readers are going to get tired of him.
You grab the laptop, you're all, can we step over here and talk for a moment?
That's exactly what happened too. I'm like, okay, time out. We need to redo.
So what was your, let's go back to the Bnai Did, because that's the one you're promoting right now, and it's available right now. I have the links, again, to the Amazon, her books on Amazon down below. But going back to the Bnai Did, what was your inspiration for writing a fantasy? Did you set out to write a dark fantasy novel?
Not really. I just started off just writing fantasy, just thinking up. I had the characters kind of outlined because of the Dishonored video game mishap.
Your frustration with the video.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I had that plan. So I knew there was going to be a little bloodshed, but I didn't think it was going to go as far as it does. And so as I was writing it, I realized it was getting darker because I was actually putting a lot of the experiences I was going through in life. And at the time, I had a job I didn't like. So that ended up getting poured into it. And so by the end, I was like, yeah, this isn't really fantasy anymore.
But now, when you stopped and you turn around and you look back at your journey, you go, aha, this is the story I wrote. And this is some good stuff here.
Yeah, I'm really proud of it. Like I said, I didn't really have time to outline. It just kind of came to me, and every night I would just hatch it out. I'd actually spend from about 6 to 1 o'clock in the morning every night just writing it, just because I couldn't. It's like I couldn't think unless I had it out on paper.
There was no going to sleep.
Yeah, no, there was no going to sleep. And in fact, my cousin, who's a writer, he was like, well, how long are you spending writing this novel? And I calculated out I was spending 40 hours a week on top of working 40 hours.
Wow, so your second job.
Yeah, it really was. But it was worth it. I really liked the outcome of it.
Excellent, excellent. And you're also going to be, we got together because of Virtual Fantasy Con.
Yes!
Which is an online Facebook, 8 days, November 1st to November 8th. And they're basically replicating a complete fantasy convention online on Facebook. And so you're going to be there in one of those days, the Dark Fantasy Day.
Yes, November 3rd.
November 3rd. So definitely go run to Facebook and check out the Virtual Fantasy Con and check out A.M. Dunnewin on her day there for that. Okay. So I pretty much have covered everything that I had checked off for my list for here. So before we shut down the interview and everything, is there anything that you would like to say to everybody who are watching the video, future readers of yours or your existing reader or your fan base, anything you'd like to let them know? What should they know?
Ooh, that's a good question.
The next question's an algebra question, so take your time.
I know, right? Can I have a calculator? I'd probably just say be patient with my stories because they're going to be out in probably a little bit. But definitely, if anyone's on Facebook, to check out Fantasy Con. The people running that they're doing a fantastic job getting these authors and readers. Yeah, and it's mind-boggling. I don't know how they 200
authors going there.
Exactly. And that's why to check it out is not only as an author to see, to work with your peers, but also to see what else is out there, see what other authors are doing. Because, I mean, they have good works out there. It's not just best-selling authors that, write good stories.
Everybody writes good stories. Well, not everybody writes good stories, but there's not just the people that are on the best-selling list writing good stories.
Exactly. There's also indie authors, a lot of underground authors that have a lot of good ideas, and you might come across your next favorite novel.
Excellent, excellent. Well, hey, thank you so very much, Am, for coming on the show and letting us turn the spotlight on you. So don't hang up just yet. I'll come back. We'll chat for a couple more minutes for that. But say goodbye to everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so once again, that was A.M. Dunnewin, and she was here promoting the Bnai Did. And she will also be there November 3rd at the Virtual Fantasy Con. And there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff going on with the Virtual Fantasy Con, prizes and all sorts of great stuff. So check that out. But also, I really, really urge you to go ahead and check out her website, amdunnewin.wordpress.com. And also the link down below for her Amazon. Check out the Bnai Did. She also has a couple other books that we actually didn't mention. She has some books set in the Roaring 20s, I think, Speakeasy, and the other one was Rum Runner. So those ones also sounded really cool. A couple of novellas there for that. And definitely check out her Amazon page. Check out her website. Thank you very much for watching ODNT Spotlight again. I'm Steve DeWinter, your host. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. We have many more authors, artists, musicians, actors, anybody I can get on my show, I'll have on my show. So thank you very much. Have a great day. Goodbye.